In Chinese medicine and traditional health practices and Qigong, they have this thing called Meridians.
When they see the bigger picture, they can start to see the relationship between these different things and maybe also between the symptoms that the person is experiencing.
These Asian masters, they actually discovered how to activate the different meridians in the body and how to heal and clean the body through movement alone.
The other one is adding something outside of yourself and causing actually a disharmony. The other one is stimulating your natural endorphin production.
The best medicine is not usually even medicine. The best medicine is...
Or I say it connects the body, it connects the extremities, it connects the eyesight, it connects the neck, your toes, through your legs, through your core, to your extremities. Everything is connected in these poses.
Because for a long time I wasn't sure like how much you actually need to practice something to get benefits and like this. Then after I learned about the meridians, the lymphatic system, the blood flow and everything else, now I understand that
nowadays I do training all the time, but I have no specific connection into growing a muscle in my body. Why all training has to be about growing a muscle?
Then you have these movements and these exercises that truly stimulate the lymphatic system in such a way that you will actually get rid of the toxins and increase energy in a dramatic fashion.
So just recently, like maybe just 2 weeks ago, I moved to a new villa from my old apartment. It's like this house which has its own garden, and I've been enjoying it so much because I like to move, and I used to move inside this apartment, but it makes a big difference because nowadays I'm usually I move every day outside in this garden. It's quite green. There's some bushes, a couple of palm trees, and some other trees, but there was this one wall that was a little bit empty, and I was always looking at it like I want to get something there as well, and I bought like a couple of like smaller trees. One was like a palm that I can't remember the species, but the other one I remember it was acacia tree. So acacia tree like maybe 3 meters high, and it had these yellowish or yellow flowers on top of it. And when it was brought to the garden, I noticed like after a few days that there was like quite a lot of leaves that started to turn yellow, like very, very bright yellow. And first I couldn't even recognize it because the yellowish color was almost the same as the flowers on top of it. I was a bit curious why it suddenly the leaves are turning yellow. Is maybe the plant is sick? Should I maybe do something, or maybe it's not sick, or maybe it's lacking some nutrients. I wasn't really sure. Maybe the moving was very stressful, and now it's like dropping its leaves. I was a bit worried and I just like despairing, like, well, what is going on? But I just decided to let it be. I did water it, of course, but then after a few more days I was just following the situation, and there's still more leaves coming, these yellow leaves, and they were starting to drop down. And then a couple more days and I noticed that it's actually also suddenly the flowers have also increased on the top, so it was actually blooming. And before I made the conclusion that perhaps the tree is sick, but now the very immediate reaction to me, and this kind of like a very plain feeling that I got without any kind of judgment, was that the leaves are dropping so that it could bloom. And it may be also a wrong interpretation, but this is the immediate feeling that I got in my body. The leaves are dropping so it can actually grow these flowers on top. And I started to think about this, that when my first judgment was, in a way, it was kind of like this Western mindset. I'm not saying it's Western like knowledge, because if I was knowledgeable about plants, that I could have already known what is maybe going on. But this was the mindset that I had. I see something and I think, okay, it's sickness, it's bad, maybe I need to cure it. Whereas in reality, it was nothing for me to be cured. It was more like a natural cycle of the plant itself. And I did verify this because I Googled then this acacia tree, and it said that very often this tree, it drops its leaves when it blooms. So it actually has this type of cycle, natural cycle in it. But this, just witnessing it there and seeing it like literally kind of those leaves, dead leaves, or dropping the leaves, shedding something away in order to grow something more beautiful, this like left kind of a strong impression for me. And I started to think about this in terms of what we often talk about, the Western worldview and the kind of Eastern worldview, because we also have this same division in our training. We do a lot of ancient Qigong, which is an Eastern, like an art of actually cultivating energy in the body, and actually an entire health system, the Chinese medicine. And in this within Chinese medicine, the way they look at these different processes are more like this kind of cycles. They look at things as processes, and in terms of relationships between one and the other thing, not necessarily as specific entity that you can isolate. This has a disease, this needs to be cured, but they look at the entire kind of bigger picture.
Yeah, I would say like a Chinese medicine and the Eastern way of thinking, it's more holistic, and it's like you said, it's about the big picture. They're not like, whereas the Western way of thinking is more focused on the single, like very specific things, and then they try to like think how everything works together. Whereas in like Qigong and Chinese medicine and traditional medicine in Asia, it's like everything is about the cyclical nature of the nature, and everything is holistic and everything is about the big picture and how everything works as a whole, instead of being obsessed about just one single thing.
You're right, and this is not like people may then think that like Western medicine is all bad and it's wrong or something like this. It's not. It is just what I'd like to people to understand, that these are two so fundamentally different worldviews and aspects, and both of them work, but in different ways. For instance, in Western medicine, I think you can produce oftentimes the cure. You can produce a cure, but there's very often also some kind of payment that you need to make for that cure, like that happens inside the body. Because if you take a medicine, for example, then it will cause some type of adverse effect in the body that you then need to counteract again. Whereas in many cases, and it might be super effective though, like curing the actual disease that you have. But in the Eastern medicine, I think they're looking at a bit more natural means. They're utilizing natural herbs and such that actually don't cause this type of disharmony. So the idea there is to restore harmony in the body. And diseases are usually seen as some type of imbalance in the system, like the disharmony essentially of the body.
Yeah, the harmony is like the number one thing, and everything is like taught after the harmony, because like for example in the Western way of thinking and in the Western medicine, it's like you just get the cure for the problem, and the adverse effects and how it affects everything else is not usually even considered.
Yeah, it's not.
Like the side effects, but you don't know how it impacts the whole picture usually, and the doctors don't even talk about this unless it's like an extreme case.
It's not even addressed. You're right.
Yeah.
The big picture is not even of concern. Whatever side effects maybe you get, it's like it's normal. It's natural.
Yeah, and it's also like the Western medicine. It's always like obsessed over the symptom. Like if you have, like you said, if the leaves are falling, then you just try to fix the leaves are falling.
Yeah.
So you are not actually trying to fix the root cause at all. And I think this is very interesting. But in many ways, like the Western medicine and the traditional medicine in Asia, they have the same things, but the perspective is different. And for example, in science and Western medicine, they think the neurotransmitters through like the GABA and dopamine and serotonin and acetylcholine and everything, like all these things. Whereas in the East, they had pretty much the same thing, but they called it fire, water, metal, and earth. And like this, for example, fire was like if somebody had lots of fire, he was like very energetic and maybe uncontrolled and just
or literally experiencing like heat and can have like this twitching restlessness.
Yeah, restlessness and like this. Whereas in the West, maybe we consider it's like ADHD and maybe too much dopamine from maybe you drink too much coffee or maybe you take too much stimulants or too much sugar. So your dopamine levels are too high. So you are acting like crazy. And in the West, we think it's okay, it's too much, the blood sugar is up and you have too much dopamine because of the stimulants. Whereas in the East, they were just thinking, okay, it's too much fire.
Yeah, and coupled with the too much fire, like they what I understand, like they look at the entire almost life of the person who is there. Like they are not just watching, you have this imbalance in some kind of chemical, because that's not really what they even like. They don't have these terms like you mentioned. They had a different, completely different concepts compared to these scientific neurotransmitters. They had their fire and so on. And they also, so they watch actually your life, like how are you actually acting in your life? Are you aggressive? Are you more passive? Are you like depressed? Are you always happy? Are like these type of things, like even your personality. They would check your, like the color of your tongue, the are you cold or heat in your skin, the color of your eyes. This is what they would actually check, like everything, to get a bigger picture of the person. It was really, like you said, it's not about that specific substance, it's about the entire being. And then they can see, when they see the bigger picture, they can start to see the relationship between these different things, and maybe also between the symptoms that the person is experiencing.
Yeah, and actually the behavior and lifestyle were very important. Whereas nowadays in the Western medicine, it's almost no factor. Like if you like imagine somebody is like very depressed and sad and like this, and then he goes to doctor, it's like yeah, I'm depressed and I'm sad, I need some medicine, and please fix this for me. Whereas if you look at this person's life, maybe his parents has died, and then maybe he's living in really bad conditions, in really bad environment in his house. He lost his job. He's like everything is going against him, and he's eating crap. He's not moving well. He's not exercising. So of course he's going to be depressed and sad and have these mental problems because his lifestyle is a mess, and he had also this very negative life events happen to him. So about that. But do they actually, if you go to like the maybe not psychiatrist or doctor, do they ask you like how are you actually going, like doing, like how are you actually, yeah, like how are you actually feeling?
How are you?
Yeah, how are you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like this ignorance towards what is in the life, and for me it seems it's baffling, because of course, like at least in my life, it feels natural to look at actually what's going on. Like if I experience something, usually I can understand, there's something that I may be doing, or something that is just overall happening in my life that maybe I don't even have control over it, but there are things that are causing, me to feel in the way that I'm feeling. And I can kind of try to at least see those myself and understand that, okay, there's, some things I know that will pass, maybe it's just a phase. It's not that my first instincts is to think about, medicine, because for me, of course, maybe in the other extreme, I try to avoid like medicine as long as I can. Like I don't want to have any, like, of course, if I have to, and to save my life, I will, for sure. I don't have this kind of, illusion. And if you have like a cancer or something, I'm pretty sure you need to take your treatments for that. But like in general, I don't want to take anything. I don't want to take painkillers or something unless there's really is something that is forcing me to do so. And so I've kind of educated myself to look for answers in other places. And this was actually from a quite a young age. I think from 17 years onwards, I started to like recognize, for example, that my skin issues and such, I thought that these are from the diet. I don't know how I make the connection back then, but I was just like, I just knew that it would be something that maybe change with my eating. But actually it was, of course, even more than that. There was, the overall, maybe my lifestyle, the way I was thinking about conceptualizing things. But there's a host of things, that you can actually analyze in yourself and in your life that are causing different symptoms. It's like taking a little bit of responsibility and recognizing these actually processes that govern the life in general.
Yeah, the thing is that even like the best medicine is not usually even medicine. The best medicine is maybe number one, fasting, just getting rid of everything and just letting the body heal naturally. But the second best medicine certainly is like proper exercise and proper movement, because in like Chinese medicine and traditional Asian medicine and health practices and Qigong, they have this thing called Meridians, which is basically like this, how the energy flows in your body, and then you have like different acupuncture points in all these different places in the body. But they care about, and how you actually activate the meridians, and how you actually ensure the energy flows in the body is through movement and through different exercises and through different breathing patterns and different breathing exercises and techniques, and of course very versatile movements, because these Asian masters, they actually discovered how to actually like activate the different meridians in the body and how to heal and clean the body through movement alone. And now I know a lot of people think some meridians, it's not even a real thing because it's like some Chinese medicine, woohoo, something like this. But what I've discovered is that the meridians are actually very closely related to lymphatic system in the West. It's almost in some aspects it's almost identical. And if you don't know about the lymphatic system, it's it's part of the immune system that gets rid of toxins in the body. It's also like regulates hormones and transfers the blood cells from different parts of the body, but the main function is to actually get rid of the toxins, because when you get sick, the lymph nodes get usually swollen because it's hyperactive and it tries to get rid of all this bad stuff in the body. But even in this sense, in the West, how you actually activate the lymphatic system and how you actually train the lymphatic system is through movement, and through movement alone almost. So even in the West, like in the East, we think if you want to cultivate the energy in the body and activate the meridians and work the body this way, you have to move the body and you have to do these different movements to actually achieve that. And the same way in the West, we know that in order to get rid of the toxins in the body through the lymphatic system, you have to move the body. And yeah, so this is also like very interesting part, because people think, the meridians are not even a real thing. But if you study the relationship between meridians and the lymphatic system and how similar they are and how similar the techniques for some purposes are, then you will realize that it's very closely related.
This is the problem with, I think, because we are trying to bring together the Eastern and the Western approach. So in the East, when you talk about the meridians, so these are like, well, I think lymphatic system is a like great way to kind of physicalize it, but it's still like it doesn't have actually a physical counterpart, at least for the moment. So lymphatic or the meridians are like these vessels that go, you can think about blood vessels, kind of a net of some kind of lines, like either pathways actually. So they believe that there's the chi, the energy, and then how does the chi travel in the body is through pathways that are called meridians, and they govern your organs, and they go through through your entire body, from your feet to your hands to your head, through your spine. And then the acupuncture, so the points there, the acupuncture points are specific points in that pathway through which you can, like when you press the needle, then you can stimulate the meridians in different type of ways. You can stimulate the stagnation if the chi is not flowing, or you can stimulate that it would actually be reduced the flow, or you can increase the flow. So there's like different ways of doing this. So yeah, the problem that I mentioned in the beginning is that because the worldview was so different, and there wasn't really originally, they didn't think that it has to be some kind of physical, actual even network, right? And what is this then based on? I'm not sure necessarily. How did they even discover meridians in the first place in the human body? Like, I think it's maybe based on some type of just being incredibly sensitive for the body.
Yeah, actually, I think it's intuitive.
Yeah,
because even, for example, I have a pretty interesting example, because in Finnish tradition, when we go to sauna during summer, we make this, we like take these branches of the trees, and then we do like,
we beat.
Yeah, beat like this. And if you look at the body, this is exactly where the acupuncture points are and where the lymph nodes are. They are over here, and then they are over here as well. So even intuitively, when you get this tool and you go to sauna, you do like, I'm gonna hit here because it feels good, and then I'm gonna hit here because it feels good.
Yes, to stimulate. I mean, but then again, it comes like, what are you stimulating? Are you just stimulating blood flow? Because the redness, comes, of course. So you're stimulating blood flow.
No, you're stimulating the acupuncture points, which in the West are the lymph nodes.
No, but I mean in general, like in the West, like when they were like doing that maybe 100 years ago, 200 years ago in the sauna, they had no idea about anything. They slapped every place. It was not just acupuncture points. It was like the whole body just, you know, slapped around and get it
I said
blood.
like they intuitively felt like this is a good place. Because
yeah.
And that's how they at least discovered some of it.
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
Yeah, but before you said maybe there's no counterpart for the meridians, but even the lymphatic system, because the purpose of blood is to transfer like the oxygen and the different white and blood red cells in the body, but the purpose of the lymphatic system is actually to transfer fat from different parts of the body, because even like because the lymph node, there's many different places for the lymph nodes, and then they are also connected. So in many ways it could be like considered maybe it's not exactly the same, but very similar to.
It could be, but I mean, there are a lot of theories, and people have tried to make like really exact, like scientific studies of how to measure, like, or how you can maybe how do you like spot the meridians, and it's like there's many different theories from it for certainly, and I think like yes, you can.
But I would say that meridians are not completely accurate, but in many ways they are.
But this is what I'm saying, because it's in the original, maybe the original purpose was that it is not exact. It was like it's something invisible almost. It's the process. It's not an organ. It's not a literal pathway. It's like it's a description of the function of what is happening. So again, we go back to the beginning where things are perceived as processes. In the Chinese medicine, it's like it's a function, it's a process. It's not necessarily an actual like a what is this lymphatic like a pathway. But it's the lymph, it's the blood, it's the whatever tissues and vessels are going on there, and the relationship between those, the flow of those liquids, like that is the meridian of everything that is flowing.
Yeah, exactly. I think you are correct, because it's not. Yeah, it's a combination, because it's the holistic nature.
Yeah,
it's because it's the holistic way. So it's probably the combination of everything. It's the lymphatic system, then it's the blood, and then it's the muscles and everything else.
But, I think it has to be.
But like this, but you cannot find the exact, like this is the meridian.
Yeah.
Like you cannot find if
but
you
people are trying.
That's the problem. But
yeah.
But these people don't actually understand then the Chinese medicine properly, because they think it's like an exact scientific thing. Like the fact that they are trying to find this exact thing is the Western way of thinking.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
precisely. That was my point. Like, because now when you're trying to combine the two approaches, but then you end up like bringing like the very like dominating Western worldview into the Chinese these concepts, which were never about the like. It's very this way. Like I know that they can be brought together somehow, but how I'm not like sure what is the correct way to like combine them together. But like this, yeah. Actually, one thing I forgot to even mention, yes, the lymph, the blood, but also even nervous system. Like this is actually, I read like this was like a theory of what meridians actually are and how they work is through nervous system. Is that would be the primary thing. Again, it was like one example of trying to isolate the meridian into one specific thing. But it was still very, I think, interesting. So because they were actually researching this acupuncture. And as I mentioned, acupuncture is like pressing the needles into the specific, like, how to say, like hotspots or trigger points in that meridian pathway.
And it doesn't even have to be a needle necessarily.
Yeah,
like
I guess it can be.
But basically it is, acupuncture means that, but the acupuncture point can be kind of stimulated even without needles.
Yeah, I mean, you can massage and I read like back in the day, like it was maybe some like bone spikes that they put. Nowadays it's like very, thin needles. But that's actually an interesting thing because I've never tried it. So for me, I'd like to maybe even try acupuncture or something like this way, just to recognize what it actually. Maybe I would feel something interesting in my body. But so. And this also takes us to the hormonal system, because this was an interesting study. So don't take this as a literal example of this is the meridian, but this was just an interesting, I say, phenomenon coming out of the meridian system, trying to be studied in the Western framework. And so what they did is they checked, like, because when you press these acupuncture points and you put the needles then, so what people usually experience is the like reduction in pain. and also increased pain tolerance. So if you have like actually pain arising, like back pain or something, the pain will be alleviated. So people didn't really understand what is this based on, like how does this actually work? There has to be some kind of mechanism. It's not just like some magical meridians and then the pain is decreased. So they were like checking, or they were measuring this thing with, or I don't know how they were measuring it, but they noticed that by putting these points, the needles, it releases like endorphins inside the body when you put to these specific points. So that's actually a natural, again, it's a natural painkiller. Like if you get hurt or you're badly exhausted, the bodies will start to produce endorphins, right? So that's even that is like one of the elements. It's just one of the elements, but I think it's fascinating that was actually research. So there was actually something that was observed in the studies that this literally happened. And how they actually noticed this is that, if you put morphine into the body, what does it do actually? Morphine inhibits the natural endorphins. This is, same if you take testosterone, synthetic testosterone, your body will not anymore produce its own testosterone. Same way, if you take external opiates and morphines, your body won't anymore produce these natural like hormones that would actually alleviate your pain, which is why it's so dramatic. The withdrawals, right? If you don't take anymore, you're gonna feel horrible. And I remember this person explaining, because he got morphines after a surgery, and afterwards the withdrawals were so bad that he was willing to do anything to get that morphine back into the body. So it's enormous like withdrawal symptoms that you actually get from it. But then you think about so the point was that when you put the morphines, the chemicals, natural endorphins go down. But when you inject back the acupuncture needles, that increases, it actually releases those endorphins. And this is kind of perceived as one of at least the mechanism that is based on the pain alleviation from acupuncture. So it's very curious. Like in Chinese medicine, you're stimulating the natural production of endorphins in order to restore some kind of harmony. Whereas in Western medicine, again, you would give a very, very strong drug and it works like crazy well, morphine, right? But then it causes that down regulation of your natural endorphins. And this is the negative side effect that we kind of talk about in the beginning. The other one is adding something outside of yourself and causing actually a disharmony. The other one is stimulating your natural endorphin production and restoring harmony. So in this sense, like from the Chinese perspective, was the morphine even a cure? Was it even a cure if it actually caused a disharmony in the body, in a way?
Yeah,
which of course will be balanced. But there's just something that I start to think about, and again, going even deeper into the actual meridians and the processes in how it's not just the lymph, it's not just the blood, it's not just the nervous system, it's the hormone system. The entire processes of the body have been encapsulated in these concepts in Chinese medicine.
Yeah, but what's one thing what is very common with the both Western and the Eastern way of like doing things is that, like, if you look at the lymphatic system or the nervous system, or then you look at the meridians, what is very common in both of these is that you really stimulate it through exercise and movement. And then you also stimulate it through massage techniques and breathing. So that's maybe in the West, the breathing techniques are not very mainstream yet in the medicine, but everyone knows you can actually stimulate the lymph nodes and the meridians through massage techniques and also through exercise and movement. And I think this is like, if you look at Qigong, it's like it's all about breathing techniques, it's all about massage, it's all about movement and exercise. And in thousands of years, they really developed the best ways to really stimulate the body through movement alone. So I think that's like absolutely incredible, because if you take that side of like the Eastern, like the knowledge to West, then you have these movements and these exercises that truly stimulate the lymphatic system in such a way that you will actually like get rid of the toxins and like increase energy in a dramatic fashion, because it's been like so refined and so developed to do exactly that.
Yeah.
And the problem with many Western way of exercising is that, of course, all kind of exercise, it will stimulate the lymphatic system and it will get rid of toxins and it will increase your hormones and it will improve your health. But there's like a day and night difference between doing just simple bicep curls or simple running compared to like this very sophisticated and refined movements that really challenge the body and the nervous system and also activate the lymph nodes and train the lymphatic system and activate the meridians compared to the simple movement patterns. Because of course the bicep curl, it's great, and like some overhead press is great, running is great, but like I said, there's a day and night difference, and many of the Qigong exercises that you will do will like, it's just incredible.
Yeah. Actually, I started to think about this, what makes that big difference. Like you said, any exercise will stimulate your blood flow and, lymphatic system to an extent, right? So what makes, for example, Qigong special? And, just going back to earlier, like the Qigong is that's the physical exercise part. And it's for me, of course, and for us, that was the most important thing. That's actually what got me into the Chinese medicine in the first place, because I didn't know anything about acupuncture. Like I said, I haven't even tried it. I don't really know about the massage stuff. I haven't used like Chinese herbs or something like this way. It was the physical exercise, because we are, of course, trainers and that's our passion. So that got us kind of into this journey in the first place. And it is the primary, interest still for me in regards to this.
I would say, and it's the most important aspect as well. Like it's more important than the herbs. It's more important than the massage.
I agree.
And it's more important than the acupuncture techniques. It's like it's because it's the essence of life.
And it gives you the power. It's not like you go to the therapist and the therapist is like putting needles into you or giving you some weird like mixture of some things that you got to digest. No, it's actually, when you get these things, you have the tool, you can do it anywhere, and it just only increases your understanding of your own self, your body. And it's something that you can do anywhere. Like you can do it at your home, house, at the street. This doesn't even require space, the Qigong practices. But yeah, going back to that thing, like what is the difference actually? Because, so again, if let's say, I'm doing like a bicep curl or even a squat to an extent, but the bicep curl is a good example because it's in isolation. And again, isolation, that is more of a Western concept. We're isolating muscles. And it's a very useful concept for isolating muscles specifically. But again, to make everything flow in the body as like a really like this cycler energy, I say energy accumulation, the circling of the energy in the body, your exercise should be a bit more holistic. If you just focus on this, you're concentrating the blood in your biceps. But when you're doing Qigong, these poses are incredibly holistic. It's not just biceps, it's not just your quad, it's not just hamstring, lower back, it's not just abs. It's actually this whole chain of muscles that it utilizes. For example, the Buddhist Qigong that we learned from Jiang Yushan and is in our Health and Fighting Qigong course, every single movement is like engages, or I say it connects the body. It connects the extremities, it connects the eyesight, it connects the neck, connects almost like your toes, through your legs, through your core, to your extremities. Everything is connected in these poses. I think this is one of the differences, that why it's such great in stimulating these things that we talk about. The other factor is that, I think you also mentioned this at some point, is the breathing. So breathing is not like in Western world, oftentimes, and in training, is not a big deal. It's like, breathe in, breathe out, or, create a bracing effect. But in Qigong, it's different. And it's made specifically by utilizing all basically 3 sections of your breathing apparatus, as it's sometimes called. You utilize that to breathe to your fullest extent. And this breath is kind of one of those engines or something that kind of breathes life into those poses that you're actually doing and energizes them as well. And even breathing, I think diaphragmatic breathing itself, even alone, stimulates properly the lymph nodes. That's at least what I've heard from somewhere. But the breathing together with the holistic poses is what creates usually the magical effect, so to say.
And the thing about Qigong is that even with our like the courses at warriorneikong.com, the health and fighting Qigong, is that it's not like working out actually, because it's supposed to be like a daily practice, and this is sometimes hard for like the average person to understand that you are supposed to practice this as much as you can every day. Of course, you will get benefits if you practice it 3 times per week, but in reality, like movement should be practiced every day and as much as you actually can. Because for a long time, I wasn't sure like how much you actually need to practice something to get benefits and like this. But then after I learned about the meridians, the lymphatic system, the blood flow and everything else, now I understand that it's absolutely vital and it's absolutely necessary to move your body in versatile ways as much as possible every single day, because that's how you actually get rid of the toxins. That's how you actually like regulate the hormone system. That's how you regulate the digestion. That's how you actually take care of the health of the body. And it is by moving. And the better you move every single day, the healthier you will be and the better your body will function.
Oh yeah, and you made that very good distinction. It's not exercise like in the traditional sense. It's not like a workout. That's why you can actually do it. That's why I can keep on doing like the Buddhist Qigong form is just one, but you also have the grand circle, which is just standing in different type of poses. You're not stressing the body to the extent that you actually would feel necessarily super exhausted, like you need to take multiple days of rest. Of course, in the beginning, it can be quite exhaustive even, and definitely makes an impact in the muscles, but still, comparatively, it's very low impact. So it's actually something that you can do every day. You're supposed to even do every day to move your body, to stretch it out in different directions. What the Qigong, I think, gives, and what is the really nice thing about it, is that you get these readily explored and, I say, researched and developed postures or patterns of movement. Because when you're doing like these different things and reaching out here and there, then like you don't have to figure out these things by yourself. You have this kind of workout, you have the routine that you can do it. Because for me, naturally, I don't follow a routine, because I just stretch out my body in different directions very naturally, because it's something that I do, and I'm a very spontaneous person in any case, and I explore movement patterns and stretches all the time. But I also follow this type of routines in the Qigong, and it's just like in that routine, it's like 12 something like poses that cover the body like through and through, every single part. And it's quite quick to go through, like 10 to like maybe 10 or 20 minutes. It's just convenient. It's great. And you actually feel amazing afterwards, because you're literally like stretching your these chains like I explained. Another concept in actually the Western world that is quite starting to be a bit more popular are the fascias. So it's not only that you're stimulating your muscles, stretching the muscles or stretching your tendons, but you're also stimulating the fascia. And what is fascia in the body is actually this web and that goes through your entire body. It's a web that connects your every single muscle in your body. And this is why also it's important that you do these holistic movements, because our mind, and my mind as well, I used to rely on my brain and my cleverness. Like, I know that I can fix this if I just, focus on this one area. And sometimes it works. Like, okay, I have a pain in the knee, I just train my quad and it's fine. But the other factor is that I cannot single out, or I cannot always separate and extract the exact area. That's why when you're doing holistic movements, you don't even have to know what a specific area is causing what, because you are stimulating the whole chain. So you're stimulating all the different areas. Sometimes the answer in the fixing ailments in the body or tightness in the body or even sickness in the body is that you actually stimulate the whole body. And that is, I think, one of the most powerful things here. You don't have to know really that much about your body. Do the poses, follow them, follow through them. There's like thousands of years of wisdom summarized into physical poses. Like, you can embody thousands of years of research in these like Shaolin temples and of the ancient Taoist, practitioners when you're doing this type of training.
Yeah, the thing is that because in the beginning when I saw maybe mobility training, maybe I saw animal movements, and when I saw Qigong, when I saw these forms and these exercises, I was thinking, it's for external benefits. It's for my joint function. It's for my mobility. It's for my flexibility. It's for my strength. And nowadays I'm thinking it's like it's only a small benefit of the whole thing. Like the internal health is where the real value is actually. Because when you really stimulate the body with these movements, you will really improve your digestion, hormones, everything. So for health and internal health especially, it's the most important thing to do.
Yeah, it's a massive mind shift, to be honest, because for me, if we go way back, like maybe 10 years or so, if the training didn't give me like some type of, or at least imaginary benefit in my muscular size, I just thought that it's probably useful. Like, why would I do the training if it doesn't grow my muscles? Nowadays, I do training all the time that I have no specific connection into growing a muscle in my body. Or why all training has to be about growing a muscle? It doesn't.
Or not just muscle, but strength.
Or strength. Yeah, or strength. Exactly. Like, we talk about this a lot. My training is only useful if it helps me to lift more weights off the floor. I like just no longer. It's now it feels absolutely insane to think about even that type of approach, how narrow-minded it is. But I'm very happy that I went through that phase. So I know actually, I have experience of that kind of narrow mindset myself. I was that person. But coming back to this day, and what I mentioned at one point, I'd said that you need to be kind of sensitive to your body. And this is probably how these people, well, one is that they were sensitive, other that they didn't have this limiting mindset that the Western worldview has about training. So they didn't have the limitations that training should be this or that, but they were open. And the other thing that because of that, they were also very sensitive to their bodies. So they could sense, they could do these different postures. And when they're doing it and they're experimenting with them, they can feel the effects on the health, on the flow of energy, flow of chi, flow of lymph, flow of blood, flow of everything that is going on in there. Like you can, it's quite amazing, like how much value you start to sense in these training methods when you just become a bit more sensitive and you stop thinking about that the only beneficial result is muscle growth and being able to lift more weight.
Yeah, because we do like mixed martial arts quite seriously, and now when I think of training, if I do like the muscle size and strength would almost be no benefit for like mixed martial arts or boxing. Like it's like, of course, strength has benefits always, but it's still like, would it really change my performance a lot? No. But when I think about the Qigong and the internal practices, that's actually what's going to be the deal breaker or the game breaker, or what's the word? What's going to game changer? That's the one thing that is going to be the game changer. The thing that actually like elevates my energy, elevates my mood, and makes me more mobile and more like a just fluid, like a person in the cage. That's actually going to improve my performance. And if you look at, let's say, top level athletes in UFC, like their muscle size and their strength, levels of strength is no factor at all. Like it's such a small factor in the big picture. What actually matters is their like mentality and their energy and how they can like peak their performance on the given day. So that's why I think now, because me and Eero, we already have enough size, we already have enough strength. It's not going to change our lives. But what's going to improve our performance the most, it's actually the internal stuff and the mobility and
skill.
And skill,
sure,
and of course skill, but it's, I think of it outside of
the
it.
outside of skill.
Like skill is of course the most important thing for us, but
if you don't,
but when it comes to like just the performance of the body, it's
the underlying like bodily condition.
It's like actually when you feel fresh, when your nervous system is fresh and capable to like be explosive, because you can train for that, but actually what people don't know is that they think you get explosive by doing explosive stuff, and that's one thing. But you actually get more explosive when you are actually the most explosive when your central nervous system is the freshest possible, and you keep your nervous system fresh by taking care of the health of your body through different practices.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter like how much potential in a way you have for explosiveness in terms of just like even utilizing your nervous system, because if your muscles are not even healthy and pliable, like a lot of explosiveness a movement in martial arts, it's very versatile. It's not like I do one explosive squat jump or one like explosive push up like this way. It's the explosiveness and even the speed. It comes from the fluidity and relaxation of your muscles together with producing actually tension. So it's like a very coordinated. This goes into the skill attributes to a little bit, but the better the underlying machinery, the health of your muscles, not just the size of the muscles, but the health, pliability, flexibility of those muscles, the better then you can put it into those skills. Because martial arts skill require not just big muscles, they require functional muscles, literally like functional muscles. And this is sometimes for people, it's like, what is like a functional muscle? Well, it's a muscle that is very adaptable, and it has all the different qualities that a healthy tissue should have. Not just that it's able to hard contract, but there's, for example, the elasticity of it, the stretch reflex of it. Of course, the range of motion is part of it. Just there's a host of things. And this is, I think, what Qigong actually helps with. And not just in like we're talking about it, not just like one specific muscle, but it's the whole chain. I mean, these are holistic movements in the martial arts that you're utilizing to even throw a punch or a kick. The whole body is usually involved one way or another.
Yeah, the mainstream method is to do heavy deadlifts and heavy squats, and then they think it's going to improve their performance and muscle arts ability. And if you have maybe weak posterior chain and weak legs, then it's going to be beneficial. But in many cases, these lifts, especially if you do them heavy, that's going to make you stiffer, and they're going to tax your central nervous system a lot as well. So you have to recover for a long time. Whereas if you focus on animal movements, if you focus on mobility stuff and Qigong, then you can actually take care of the central nervous system and also the muscle tissue in a way that you, like you said, you will be actually more explosive and more fresh and more capable in the sports you are interested in. And in martial arts and MMA, the effect will be much greater than wasting your time and wasting your central nervous system on the heavy lifts in deadlift and squat.
Oh yeah, and even if we talk about animal movements specifically, that's like, we're now like not emphasizing the muscles, but even the muscles feel great. Like I've been now doing this entire month, every single day I've been doing like movement training, because I had this challenge in my Instagram, so where I post every day like a very small movement routine, and that's been this month. That's been almost the only training that I've been doing, because even in the beginning for 2 weeks I was very busy with the moving and everything, so I didn't have really much time. So all I've been doing is every single day I have my short movement routine, and then we had this month like MMA sparring, some striking, pad training, and that kind of stuff. But most of everything that I've been doing is just short movement session, but every single day I do them. And my body has recuperated well, so it's not like it's too much. I train every day. It might sound crazy, but I just do like these short sessions, and my body is feeling great. Like I have visible, like my muscles are feeling great, body is looking good. It's like, you can make great impact with this type of training, even into your physique and even into how you look, but you don't have to care about that. And I think that's very liberating.
And the another thing is that they will have great effects on your appearance and your muscle, like how your muscles look and fat loss and everything. But the thing is that when you first take care of your internal health and your mentality, then suddenly everything else falls into place almost naturally without effort. And the thing with the lymphatic system and the meridians is that in order to really stimulate them to the maximal capacity, you have to do these holistic, very versatile movements. And for these animal movements and Qigong, you cannot find nothing better.
Yeah, nothing similar.
Like the only one that is very close is squat.
Yeah. So, well,
Because squat is
sure.
squat is like fantastic.
It is. It's a multi joint exercise, and even like I very much like when we had the iron kick method and we put in that very ancient like the Widowmaker breathing squat routine specifically. I mean, it's also like we talk about that these old school bodybuilding methods had similarities even with Qigong practice because they emphasized so much the breathing, the breath, the lung capacity, the lung
internal
volume. Yeah, there was
stuff.
the internal aspect precisely,
Yeah.
and like I said, like very directly, I said, but this is direct quote from those times is that they believed that internal capacity led to the growth outside as well. And it's the same, we're talking about here. It's a big change here from the external to the internal. And it's kind of, this yin and yang. But yeah, I think people have greatly undervalued the effects of training that doesn't necessarily directly cause huge muscular growth, but it can even indirectly give you the biggest potential for even muscle size, natural like growth. Let's put it this way, like because I believe that even like you said in fighting, okay, yeah, muscles, they don't like the thing is like you do not need to worry about growing the muscles necessarily. Like they will grow even when you're training or fighting, they will grow to an extent. And you can do like specific bodybuilding training, of course, but at a certain point, you don't need to worry about losing something or like shriveling away. If you've done very good training and you take care of the health of your body, you're gonna maintain muscle mass incredibly well, for example, in your body. It's not like it's just gonna be vanish or something like this way.
Yeah, I think we're gonna finish this podcast by saying that daily practice, like daily movement is, like I said, it's absolutely vital. And not just for external benefits like mobility and joint function, but actually for internal benefits, for your mental health and for your internal physical health, for your hormones, for your like liver function and digestion and everything else. So do versatile, holistic daily movement and your life will change as a result.
That's a good message. All right. Take care, guys, and stay strong. Bye-bye.